All right, call to order the policy committee meeting of the Madison Board of Ed. We have an agenda, with notes from Shipman and Goodwin before you. You only have like 4 policies, to review. No more easy policies. Actually, these are easy policies, but we don't have like just the precisions. So, the first policy is gonna be 4030.5, family and medical leave. We have the, notes. Shipman and Goodwin said that effective October 1st of this year, Public Act 25-174 makes significant revisions to 2 state laws, the Connecticut Family and Medical Leave Act, CTFMLA, and Connecticut Family and Medical Leave, CT Paid Leave, extending coverage to employees of public school operators whose positions do not require a license under Chapter 166 of the Connecticut General Statutes. So they revised our model FMLA policy in light of those legislative changes. So your policy 4030.5, family and medical leave, reflects these changes. This is a completely rewritten policy. And I just had one thing on line 260 of the policy. I think this the word from was left out. Let me just get to that page. Okay. So on line 258, depending on the reason for leave, an employee may be required to submit medical certification from the employee's healthcare provider. Medical certification, I think it's just missing the word from the employee's family member's healthcare provider and or other documentation. And that was the only thing that I saw. Essentially, this is just making us compliant with the newest Connecticut statute. I think that my comment to this is that it seems like we're just really reiterating Connecticut statute, which is something we don't usually do, but I guess for some reason Shipman and Goodwin want us to do this. And also it's in the contract that we have with our employees, so it's kind of reiterated again, but maybe it's just easier to find here. I don't know, any comments, questions?
It's a policy that we're required to share with employees 4 times a year, so they want everything in one place for it to be.
Instead of looking
shared
at
out,
CT statute and individual contracts.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I just, thought it was, usually we don't try not to repeat things over and over again, but in this particular.
Changes, yep.
Right, but, okay, so this just makes us compliant. Does anyone have any questions or comments regarding this policy?
Can I just say that if this is 406 lines long and you found the missing from on line 260, I mean this in the best possible way, you are a robot. That's awesome. I skimmed it, I didn't read it that carefully. But it's it's
I guess it's my thing.
yeah, what we have to do, so.
Funny, it like runs in the family, I guess. My husband does it for all his all his things, he's in a million groups. And now my daughter's doing it for her, fencing group, they're rewriting policy. Anyway, we appreciate you doing it.
Yes.
Diane, before we proceed, I would ask a question of you. For these policies where there's a minor change and we're really just trying to replicate state law, the board does not meet again until the second meeting in November because we have to have that organizational meeting. If you're comfortable with it and you're willing to do one read, something like this, where it's just
Sure.
implication that just so we can get it accurate on our.
Yes, thank you for thinking of that.
That would be. Because otherwise we're waiting until December 9th. If we do to read some of them, certainly might mean that ones that we're comfortable just moving in.
Yeah, I mean, I think actually all 4 of these, we could probably ask the board to waive the second read.
So
If you guys are good with that, we'll go through it each one. So I just need we'll do a motion at the end. Is that good? All right, let's move on to the next then. So now we're looking at policy 6080.1.1, educating students in the gifted and talented program. You have the revised version in front of you, along with the current policy. They are a bit different, and the notes from Shipman and Goodwin say that they recommend that we repeal our current policy and adopt the Shipman and Goodwin model policy, equitable identification of gifted and talented students. Current policy is outdated. Recent revisions to state law require the district to engage in specific processes for the identification of gifted and talented students. The district may still decide if it wishes to deliver educational services to identified students. And our current policy does not really align with state law and it's causing confusion for families. So I did go through this. I just want to make one comment, and that's, I know that, we do this And we identify our gifted and talented students, but I personally think that we don't do enough for them because we don't really. I don't think we really support them. I don't think we really provide extra opportunity for them, and I would love to see us as a board pursue that further to really push them because they need to be challenged. As much as we need to lift, the students that struggle, I think we really need to at the younger levels. I know we do it at the high school because we have a lot of ECE and et cetera, AP programs, but in the younger ones, we don't. And so that's just my personal comment.
Yeah, we do, the board considered this in the past and, when Tom Scarice was superintendent, we went through a whole analysis and we kind of adopted the differentiated instruction model rather than a gifted and talented program. There were several reasons. One reason is that we happen to have a lot of, kids who in other districts might be identified as gifted and or talented. And where do you draw the line? And it's difficult. And of course, every parent believes that their child is gifted and talented. And so really, we felt like the better model was to recognize the gifts and or the talents in each student and give them some additional work and some interesting stuff to do while the class is working on the stuff that bores them type of deal. And then you're not taking kids out of classes, you're not marking them as.
And I would respectfully say that that does not happen from personal experience and knowing not just my own daughter, but other students as well that I know were identified as gifted and talented. They were not given those opportunities. They were not challenged. They were just going along with everyone else. And so I know that we don't do enough. And I know it comes down to funding and it comes down to finding the programs that we want to support. But I still think that we should, it's a disservice to our students, in my opinion, because we have a lot of gifted and talented kids. And they are identified through a process, not just because like the parents think they're great.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks their kids are great.
Yeah.
But it's specific, to identify them in certain areas. And it's not all just math or science or it's whatever it is, and it should be, flourished, should be supported.
I will say, that I have heard a couple parents question, maybe they haven't. Maybe they haven't been introduced to how it works and they didn't get their, kid tested or whatever, but. I know we're supposed to have a program where we test them affirmatively.
We do, we definitely do identify them, I know that we do.
Yeah, and so it'd be interesting to me to understand the degree to which this may be a problem or whether it's it's a perception. I'm certainly open-minded to hearing, more feedback on it, and I certainly want to hear Craig's response. I can tell he wants to say something.
I was gonna share that, nationally, 5% of all students are talented and gifted. So I think we kind of start there. We talk about 10% here in this policy. I don't know that Madison has a much higher percentage than a national average, I would necessarily say, and I love our students, but I know we do, we love our families, but I think that's where I think Seth's talking about. I think that realistic piece of what we're doing, but also I would say each student is reading on their own level, so students are challenged with books and instruction on their own level. They're able to test out of math programs and go to higher level math programs. I think, as you said, the high school has AP and ability to push, but I think we've also focused a lot on the social emotional health of our students too, and that that there's an impact to when a student is identified as gifted and talented and put in a different group. There's an impact on those students, there's an impact on the students that aren't in that group. And I don't know that they get to a finish line or anywhere faster or better off than that. So I think that, we always, we talk about the whole child and social emotional health. And I think that that's a big piece too, but I agree, we never want a student sitting there bored in class, and I don't think we want that because that's not beneficial either. But I would say that our teachers, I see at the elementary level do push students, to to read at higher levels. We've met with parents before that you know, have concerns, and principals work with them very closely too. But it, you know,
I do think it's gotten better over the
Yeah.
past 10 years because we've done a lot more STEAM, STEM,
Yep.
there's robotics, like things have been expanded that we didn't have before, or it wasn't as much before. And there were certain programs that like we had, and then we stopped them, then we started them again. And so there were those certain classes, you know, that missed those because they were in the gaps. And so I just think it maybe our curriculum or something, maybe curriculum committee could pursue this and look into it and see like what more can we do, or even reach out to parents to say, is your child, you know, if you have a child that was identified, what do you feel we could do more? And then, and go from there, because
well, I think that's, yes, and I think the policy work is a big move on that. I think that, you know, defining it as K to 12, and we've already heard from parents under this policy and state law that's now in effect. So I think there are those conversations happening. I just also, you know, so there's also could be the detriment if the student's missing that core instruction too, you know, like the science of reading. I think the way the state implemented that is pushing us back a little bit, especially in light of this. But I will say there is that need for that, you know, foundations and those core like literacy instruction that we had. If you're doing some pull out or something for talented and gifted, they miss some of that, and oftentimes students will be able to read at a level, but the comprehension is not always there too. You know, so we got to make sure we're getting those basic skills in place.
I would also add to that, you know, the concept is gifted and talented. The gifted is high scoring in academic areas and really academically ahead of other students, whereas the talented is having specific talent in like in the arts, whether performing arts, fine arts. And so I would also say that we are fortunate in this district, and as a board, we have purposely supported a lot of the arts and performing arts and performative, you know, and music and all of those tracks that even drawing back a little bit in the fourth and fifth grade so we could maintain the teaming model with the transition, we still have more arts and music than many other districts. So that does appeal to the talented side of the equation, because kids tend to find their level in those endeavors.
I think I would just like a follow-up to this, and I will say kudos to the teachers, because I know that personally, at almost every level, I have reached out for my child to her teacher and said, I want more for her, can you give her something more challenging? And they always were excited to do it. So, and I'm not saying that, you know, the parent has to do that, that's just something that I did. But you know, certainly I would encourage any parent to reach out to their child's teacher, because they are enthusiastic about teaching, and they have always been so happy to provide extra. So my daughter was not always so happy to have it, but that's just, so anyway,
In my personal experience, I was in a similar situation. I felt that the teachers that we had did do that. They did offer additional work and more challenging work, and did it in a way that was didn't really single them out, didn't pull them out of the class, because all of that is very important, that they stay with their peers. But I had a little bit of a different experience, but I think it is wonderful to encourage parents to communicate with their teachers, because I think they are extremely responsive no matter what our issue is.
Karen, I'd just like you to weigh in.
I can't add. Everybody.
We do use a scale to an instrument called the Gates scale. So when a parent asks for their child to get assessed, we use that as another data point, because it could be kindergarten, it could be second grade. So there's no SBACs, there's no other data points. So we use that as another way to kind of give us some information prior to moving forward.
Actually, I do have a comment.
I knew you would.
There you go. I think that if the AI training is coming, we need to really emphasize reading and writing, particularly at the lower levels. And then from fifth grade on, I think there'll be opportunities for gifted kids to pursue their personal passions. Because of the virtual tutoring that'll take place. So that could change things slightly in the next 3 to 5 years.
I mean, I'm glad you brought it up because it is something that should come up for conversation review.
Yeah.
Make sure we're
Yeah.
doing it on top of it.
Yeah, we wanna make sure, especially, and it's funny because sometimes curriculum type thing or instruction things come up through policy. But it is a good opportunity to kind of check where we are.
Alright, so back to policy 6080.1.1. Does anyone have any further comments, questions, or issues with this? This is really getting us again to be I just lost it. Compliant, thank you, compliant with state statute, etc. Anyone? Are we good with this one? Alright,
Yeah, just to note, I changed the number just to keep cleaning up to 6,000, if you're okay with that.
yeah,
Get rid of all the dot.
6060, so it was,
680.
80.1.1.
and it will be 6060. Okay, thank you. Alright. Moving on to the next policy is our bylaws 9510. Time, place, and notice of meetings. This is a simple time change. We have changed our regular meeting start time from 7:30 to 7 PM. This has that single change. So, but it is a bylaw, so we'll need the appropriate percentage. Yes, vote. 2/3. Thank you. Any questions, comments, issues with bylaw 9510? And I mean, I'm willing to waive the second read on that as well if everyone else is.
Yeah.
Literally one.
Procedural,
Yeah.
substantive.
Okay, so then the last policy we're looking at this evening is 6154 homework. Shipman and Goodman recommends that we repeal our current policy and adopt their model policy concerning homework. If we maintain the current policy, they recommend administrative review to make sure that our requirements identify to meet all grades and levels, aside from the AP UConn courses, and some of the requirements may be inconsistent with the homework assigned at the high school level. So the change in the policy is much more broad and succinct. It's just the policy that we ensure that everyone complies with it, and it's appropriate to their grade level. And then our current policy 6154 homework is actually going to become the new regulation. We don't vote on regulations, but it's there for our perusal. So our old policy becomes the regulation, and the new policy is very short and brief. Any questions, comments, or concerns with 6154 homework? Not, then I would like a motion to approve to forward all 4 policies we discussed this evening, with only the one change that I said in the family and medical leave one, I believe. And recommend to waive the second read. That motion. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Good. Any public comment? Nope. Okay, then I just need a motion to adjourn. Anyway, all right. So moved.
Second.